2 defeats in a week for Celtic, with IBROX and Stuttgart on the horizon. That's this week on 20 Minute Tims. I'm your host Jamie, joined by Melly.
Yes.
And Stephen.
What's happening?
Quite
a bit, yeah.
Yes, quite a bit. There's an awful lot to talk about on this week's podcast because things haven't really been going swimmingly. I'm going to just let you, Stephen, decide where we're going to begin.
Right, so a lot on the agenda, and I suppose a major topic of this week might be that Celtic are either all the way out of a title race after a really quite bruising defeat against Hibs, or at best clinging on with their fingertips to it. Now, if I were to be asked if we are completely out of the title race, my honest answer, and not just mathematically, I know that we can still win it because we're only a certain amount of points behind, depending on games in hand and all that. My honest answer is no, but it's not because don't misconstrue this as optimism. It's no optimism. It's not. It's not. I think Celtic are going to go on a run. It's because I can't really get a hold of where this is going at all. Now, normally, if we were having a conversation about are we out of a title race, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100 probably, it would be because you have confronted the idea that a rival, in most cases Rangers, are galloping into the distance and we're not going to catch them because Celtic aren't getting any better. Now, the latter of those things is true. Celtic aren't getting any better. But nobody's running away. No, yes. I don't know which team is going to eventually grab this. It might be nobody. It might be nobody that goes on.
Somebody's got to win it.
Somebody's got to win it. But what I mean is that I don't see anybody going on like a 7, 8, 9 game winning run and grab. It could be
coming up the inside.
Is there every bit as much chance we finish 4th as 1st at this point? Yeah. So it's one of those confusing seasons. I can't get a hold of where it's going at all. As I say, it's not optimism that's leading me to think that Celtic aren't out of the title race yet. It's just that I don't see anyone being quite good enough yet to make me fully out.
Martin Melly, Stephen thinks we're still in the title race. What do you reckon?
I'm finding it really difficult. I get what Stephen's saying because, yes, mathematically we're still in it and we're only 6 points behind. But again, that's another game ticked off that was one that was Celtic to win the home games, and then we've got the tough ones after this. The tough ones were coming up after this game. We're right in the middle of it, and for Celtic have fallen at the first hurdle. Now, for Celtic to go on and win the league, what is there, 10 games to go?
Yeah.
We would need to
10 plus our game in hand, I suppose.
Win 9 and lose 1, or win 8 and draw 2 maybe. Celtic aren't capable of doing that. They're simply not capable of doing that. We're not going to go through struggling against smaller teams and then we've come up right away, first top 6 team we've come up against in a while, we lose. And then that's what we're going to get for pretty much the remainder of the season is top 6 teams.
Well, unfortunately, Falkirk sneaked into the top 6 recently, didn't they? And we've managed to take points off them because I know somebody.
We beat them every time. That's easy. We've basically been playing them once a fortnight since Martin O'Neill came back. Basically, it feels like we easily beat them every time. But yes, they are technically a top 6 team. Those are the ones we dispatch no bother. The rest of them.
The problem I've got is, and as everybody will know by now, these performances. I mean, I still, for the same reasons you do, Stephen. It's what do you call that game where you drop the coin in the top and it goes dunk, and you don't know which slot it's going to fall in? It's called
coin dunk. I think that's the name of it. Yeah.
So it's like the league is it's like that. You don't know what you don't at the beginning of every week. You don't know how things are going to fall because I would never have predicted when Rangers dropped points against Livy and that roar went round the stadium. At that exact moment, I saw nothing but a Celtic win.
Yeah,
and then Austin Trusty gets sent off. And we'll talk about that in a bit. And then we end up losing the game, and then Rangers get the draw, and you're like, see, it's all over the place.
That's part
it's
of
so
what
hard to predict.
What I'm saying as well. Sorry, John, but that's part of what I'm saying as well. I said when Melly and I recorded before the game, we were doing our Patreon at the Match podcast, and I said, look, Celtic needs 6 points this week or these two weekends, a home to Hibs and away to Rangers, or we're out of the title race.
So we need to beat Rangers twice, didn't we?
Yeah. So I stated that. I said we need 6 points here, but that's because I thought Rangers were going to take about 5 or 6 off Livingston. So that's what I mean. I thought we were going to need 6 points, but it turned out we didn't. It's no good that Celtic lost the game, but every time I think Celtic are out of it, I look at the table and think, no, we're not though. Again, there's the matter of trajectories, but the reason I just go back to that subject is because look, I thought it was one way and it was the other. I thought Rangers were going to beat Livingston and they didn't, and that's why I can't really pinpoint any team that's going to go on this run. It could be Hearts, it could be Rangers, and it could be Celtic. It feels very unlikely for the latter at this point, but the season is going in a certain way where you think one team is going to finally grab it by the scruff of the neck. Then Rangers draw with Livingston. Hearts lose at St Mirren out of the blue as well, when St Mirren can't buy a point. So it's all over the place.
But see the point where I always come back to Celtic is, for Celtic to go and win this, they need to perform better in 3 games than the 2 teams above them. And I said to you before the game, Stephen, when we were doing the pre-match stuff, I was like, I know Celtic can go out and get a victory here, but I need to see a performance that will show me they've got it in them to go and win these games. And they put in that. Like, I genuinely still don't know what we're trying to do. There was points when Tunekti didn't look like he had a clue who he was trying to press. Jamie, you spoke very well, the two of you did, about the Stuttgart game, and there was so many big gaps between Tranchara to the next guy, and it was the same against Hibs at the weekend. I don't know what Celtic are trying to do. It seems to be give the ball to Tierney and Arojo and boot it down the line. Right, so if you're going to do that, why did you bring off Tranchara and put Daizen Maeda through the middle? I don't understand what we're doing in selections, what we're doing in tactics. And this leads me to see, where are we going to go on this run now that's going to win us the league? Because we're going to need to win 8-9 games.
I think that's a big thing for me. That's the thing that's causing me, why do I think we're going to win the league? Because no one else seems to be able to just get into a gallop and pull away. And I've probably still got this forlorn hope that Celtic will pull themselves together. But the performances, as you all well know by now, I'm just not convinced. I'm not convinced by these Celtic performances, and for the same reasons you're not, Melly. And I think Celtic really need to get their act together. The only time I've seen a performance, I think, both of you correct me if I'm wrong, from this Martin O'Neill Celtic team on the return was that first game when Wilfred Nancy left, and obviously everyone was feeling really good about themselves, and we host Dundee United 4-0 at Celtic Park.
Yeah,
Callum McGregor came out after it. I think that's the only post-match he's done. No, he did post-match yesterday, actually. He did post-match for Hibs, I saw him. Or Stuttgart, I can't remember. But anyway, Callum McGregor came out after and he said, that's a Celtic team playing on the front foot, counter-pressing, possession. But no, he called that a Celtic team after we beat Dundee United 4-0, and he was very enthusiastic about the performance. Then in his interview that he did with Sky after that, but about the Nancy thing, he says, Celtic play aggressive front foot, counter-pressing football, possession. We're a possession-based team. I'm seeing none of it. I'm seeing none of this stuff that Callum McGregor spoke about in that interview. I'm seeing none of this. That's a Celtic team stuff that I heard after we host Dundee United 4-0. We really need to get a grip of these games, because the negative way to look at it is we're not performing well. We're going to lose league because we're not performing well. The positive here is, if we get our act together for 10 games, the league is there to be won. Now, I know, but that has to be the message to the players. But
see those 28 games under 3 different managers where these players can't do it? Forget that.
Look, I'm keeping my powder dry on an argument that is not ready to be revealed to the public just now. But I am not convinced, and I think there's a bit of, I don't know. I just, there's, to win these games, if we're going to be, we need to play like a Celtic team, and we did it one time, and I worry that was the players just basically a celebration performance that Nancy was gone. And now they've just fallen back into those bad old habits that you point out, Melly, we've seen for the past 20 odd games.
Sorry to jump in there. You were going to come in, Stephen, but this is my worry with this. I don't think this is the bad old habits. I would love for Celtic to just keep a hold of the ball and do the horseshoe of death. We're not doing that.
Because is it that bad? Are we on our hands and knees begging for the horseshoe of death again?
At the start of the season, Celtic's problem was creating chances and scoring goals. We barely conceded a goal. We barely conceded a shot.
That's right.
And we just had control of the game, but we didn't score, and we weren't creating the chances. Nancy came in, we were creating the chances, missing them, but we were letting them in at the back. Now we're letting goals in and we don't look like scoring. And I don't see a style of play. I don't see this Celtic, because the out of possession stuff is terrible. Players don't know who they should be going to press. They seem to drop off and gave was it Chihuahua? How do you say his name, Stephen?
Who? Oh, Chaiwa, the midfielder, yeah.
Chaiwa. We gave him the run of the pitch, and the amount of times the crowd reacted, because Hibs had the freedom of the centre of the pitch and had so much time and space on the ball, and it's like, go and press them. Why are we being passive? Why are we sitting off? And it doesn't feel like we're meant to sit off, but we're definitely not pressing. So I don't know what we're trying to do out of possession. The same with in possession. It's give it to players and hope. Give it to Tonekte and hope he can do something. Give it to Tierney. He shells it into Trinchara, hopes he can hold the guy off and bring somebody into play. But Nygren's nowhere near him, so it doesn't happen. And it just seems to be get the ball up the pitch and we'll see what we can do from there. And it's genuinely worse attacking play than we've watched from Nancy or Rodgers this season.
We look badly coached. But see, when I say back into the old habits, I don't mean sort of the style of play and all that. I mean back into the old habits of being unambitious, about no having the drive, no having the aggression, the stuff we accused them of at the tail end of last season and the beginning of this season. Just players just half-arsing it, not getting out of second gear. What happened was, obviously in my mind, Nancy left, Martin O'Neill comes in that first game. They've got a renewed ambition, they've got a renewed vigour, and they're motivated again. But it seemed to only last one game, and then they went, all right, that's us back. This team really, it does look, you're right, it does look poorly coached, and God forbid anyone who might tweet about it. But I don't know, Stephen. I'm sort of clawing for positives here. But another issue I've got is, and Melly touched on it, the team selections. Now, I sort of thought that the way to get the midfield working again would be get the Ox fit, get him in midfield, let him sit at the 6, let Callum McGregor move a wee bit more forward. And I thought against Hibs I did see a few more forward passes from Callum McGregor. I thought that might be the key to the midfield, but I still wasn't. I ended up getting that wish, but I wasn't that convinced.
Obviously, Jim, I thought it was all right for it's been his first start. It was okay. I just
meant the whole midfield. Him coming in didn't fix the midfield the way I thought it would.
No, I think that's fair to say, because as Melly's already mentioned, that Chaiwa was absolutely excellent. There was huge amounts of space, and all it took was one or two touches away, and he had just suddenly the pitch opened up for him, as Melly's already detailed. I'll not go back into it, but I thought it was worth mentioning him again, because there's a cruel irony somewhere in this, because I remember the first time that Chaiwa ever became, or I ever became aware of him, was that, do you remember the sort of dying hours of the transfer window? Engels there was all that stuff about the 25 million bid, and I remember that reading a story about how if the Engels thing goes through, Celtic have lined up Chaiwa to replace him. There's some sort of tragic irony in that Engels immediately gets injured. We've not back 25 million, and that guy's who absolutely bosses it at Celtic Park a couple of weeks after it, but we'll just need to deal with it. But also get him signed, because I was very, very impressed by him. But I heard Paul on Celtic Fans TV immediately after the game doing his reaction to it. He said something that really rang true with me. He said that once Celtic went down to 10 men, so Trusty gets sent off, and we can come to that, it looked like Celtic had gone down to 8 men. Such was the amount of space on that pitch, and I thought I knew exactly what he was talking about. There were so many times that, look, of course you lose a little bit of structural integrity, as I put it after the game, when you go down to 10 men and you just need to sort of cobble something together. But with moving to the back four, or rather sort of reinstating the back four, replacing Trusty, it felt like we didn't have a midfield there at all. Now, Oxlade-Chamberlain was gone by that point, but what was left after him was basically essentially nothing. It was essentially just a big open space in the pitch that Hibs were just walking straight through. So prior to that point, no, I think you're right. I don't think it solved the midfield problems, because it's just, I think we're trying to, if I'm totally honest here, I think we're trying to get by on too many games by trying to brute force the league. I think we're trying to, we know what it takes. Let's get last minute winners. Let's push hard and hard. We've seen it for so many weeks. So this is what we're trying to do. We don't really have a coherent plan. There's not really a method through which to play through midfield and set up chances. It really is just,
the method is players. Just win, mate. That's the game. That's it. Yeah, performances don't matter. Just win games. And
that has worked. That is demonstrably has worked at certain points this season. My worry, and I've said this for weeks now, I'm not just being reactionary to an unfortunate loss. I've said that I don't think we can do that for 20 odd games. I just don't think we can do it. Can we do it? Can we get a bit of a new manager bounce and get the confidence back after the disaster that was Nancy? Yes, and that was evident as in the game you've already mentioned, in United. I would also throw in Utrecht and Bologna, but they were specific types of performances. So I don't know if they really support the idea that we were playing well, particularly Utrecht, who didn't have anything to play for. And Bologna was just a case of like, let's dig in and try and get something out of this. But I've been saying it for weeks. I don't think we can win a league in this manner. I don't think we can continue to have well, as you've already said, the plan is we win, and then we'll work it out somewhere along the line. I'm very, very worried that the luck was about to run out, and we've kind of seen that in the last week, and we're going into even harder games.
I think Martin has only lost one game, really, which is fair enough. And
domestically, I think.
Well, domestically, aye. And there's arguments to say that had Trusty not got sent off in the game, then the result might have been different. I don't necessarily buy into that, though, because the one thing that I keep coming back to is the performances, and the one thing I keep coming back to is how bad we've looked against the lesser teams that we played earlier on. And I think one thing that we've been saying on this podcast, and other people have been saying it as well, is I'm worried about these performances even though we're winning, because harder ties lie ahead. And Stuttgart was the first one, and that was a lesson. And then Hibs came along, and we lost that game. And just looking back to the Stuttgart game, I think what worried me...
Do we have to?
Well, only very quickly. I think what worried me about the Stuttgart game and the Hibs game, if I'm honest, and it's something that we need to reverse quickly to go to IBROX, is for all the faults that you can level at Martin O'Neill, the one thing he is supposedly there for, and I think he's there to be the Celtic manager, but one thing that he's... I don't know how to phrase it, so I'm just going to say it the way I think it. One thing that he's there for is man management, drive. He'll have these players running through walls. He'll have these players working their arse off. He'll put a rocket up them and get some performances out of this team. That, for me, is the one thing that's lacking. I didn't see that against Stuttgart. I've watched weaker Celtic teams come up against better European opposition and leave nothing on the park.
And name it. A weaker Celtic player, a weaker Celtic team doing it against European opposition.
There's probably
name it right now.
There's probably
Ronnie Dial against Inter Milan.
Ronnie Dial against Inter Milan. Thank you, Martin Melly. Although Ronnie Dial's team would spank this Celtic team.
Sure would.
They would absolutely spank this Celtic. The point I'm making is the worry for me against Stuttgart was they didn't look as they weren't either great or looked merely like they didn't have to get a second gear. Neither of which is a compliment to Celtic.
No, definitely not. And that was the most humbling thing about it. The second half, it felt that they came out and thought, we'll just keep the ball and we'll be fine. And when that fourth goal went in, that was called back by VAR, people just left after that, and you could just see that this is done as a tie. And that was the most galling thing. Like, this team's not full of quality. We know that. We've seen that all season. 3 managers have tried and failed to get consistent performances out of them. But it's the lack of perceived effort. And that doesn't mean to say I think the players are not given 100%. Some probably are, but go and put a foot in, get close to players, don't look passive, and we simply couldn't do it. It's that managers always talk about it as bravery, and it doesn't mean just going in and smashing somebody, but it means being the person who's available to take the ball, being the person that's going to make the run to try and make things happen, taking somebody on, taking a difficult pass in, going and pressing and getting your team up the pitch. Nobody seemed to do it, and the big thing for the Stuttgart game was that as the goals were raining in, you're going, this could be 6 or 7 if they wanted it to be. And like you said, it just felt they took the foot off the gas and thought, we'll get through this game and we've got a second leg to kill. We don't really need to do much here.
Do you think in retrospect, Stephen, that the players probably saw the Stuttgart as a bit of a distraction to the league? They probably thought we just need to get... Do you think there was a desire to really get through that time? That's why we didn't really see the application? Because to be honest, I wouldn't blame them if they did. I wouldn't blame them.
Why was the application not there against Hibs then? Because they sat off Hibs and they didn't do anything against Hibs.
You need to blame the manager for that.
No, not allowed.
I know. But I'm trying to think about why I didn't see as much as I expected in that Stuttgart game. Am I being too kind with that, Stephen?
Well, I'd like to, as soon as you've set me up for it, I'd just like to withdraw my previous questions and statements about how Celtic should never treat Europe as an inconvenience or a distraction or anything like that. We had the discussion just last week. I asked, why would Europe ever be a distraction? That's the reason. That sort of performance is the reason it should be a distraction. I'd like to think not, because as much as I joke about that, I still think it is important that Celtic turn up and at least try to win these games. I mean, it might be largely meaningless in the grand scheme of things, but I don't. It's not about constantly being slagged for it by fans of other clubs, but I don't like that Celtic have not won a European knockout tie for over 2 decades now. So I appreciate that they're very difficult, but I want the motivation to be there to fix that. Not even just as a historical thing. We need to progress. We need to do something in Europe, or otherwise you're left questioning what the point of you qualifying for Europe is in the first place. We can't just get to a certain stage and think,
that's the aim, but isn't it? European football for 20 years in a row, Stephen.
Oh yeah, what was it? European participation.
Yes,
the board put it. Yeah,
participation. That was the word.
Ticked, yeah, that's right. So I just fundamentally disagree with that, and I'd like to think of Celtic as more of a European force than they currently are. Clearly, I am aware. I'm realistic about where Celtic currently sit in that landscape, but I don't want it to be a distraction, and certainly not for the players, because what we've also been talking about in recent weeks is that we want to try and build something positive. And I'm not saying go out and smash Stuttgart, but there's a way to lose these games. See if you come off if you come off the end of a defeat off Stuttgart and it's 2-1, we've seen it so many times over the years in
4-1 wasn't unlucky, was it?
No. We've seen it so many times in European ties over the years where just a moment of undeniable quality just undoes you, and you think, well, what you meant to do about that? But that wasn't the case against Stuttgart. I just thought we were pretty pathetic really in the game, and they didn't really need to be. I think two things are true. We're talking about this at the game as well. Are they a really good team, or were Celtic just really poor? I think it's a bit of both. I think Stuttgart are a good team. That's pretty undeniable given their performance in the Bundesliga this year. But they didn't need to be either. I think that Celtic basically just sort of let them off the hook. But that to me wasn't one of those moments where, remember, was that Lazio where Pedro scored that header, and you just think, oh, we're so unlucky there. We could have just about scraped through that. It didn't feel like that. It just felt like a total annihilation, and the nature of the second half with them treating it as like some sort of training exercise just leaves a bitter taste in the mouth. And I didn't go to the game. I'm led to believe Melly has mentioned it on a couple of podcasts or a podcast as well, that it was just a bit of a sort of poor atmosphere, just a sort of generally quite nasty vibe around the game as well. So no, I don't want that to be Celtic in Europe, to be honest, and I wouldn't like to let the players off the hook for treating it as a distraction either.
See across Europe this season, and I know we're still got a tie to play and it's not over, but look across the games this season. I was having a look at it when we did qualify, but Celtic have been poor in Europe this year. And this is a year we've got the luck. We've had 4 goals handed to us. It was the same in Stuttgart. The rest, we've had a couple of penalties and a couple of set pieces. I think of all the goals Celtic have scored in this Europa League run, 2 or 3 of them have just been normal goals, not set pieces, not gifts, not penalties. We're not creating chances. Well, we scored and got ourselves into the game, but the keeper passed it to Nygren and he put it rounded the keeper and put it in the net. What chances did we create? What pressure did we put them under? There's absolutely nothing there, and it's a weak Celtic team that just gets shown up, and that was the most galling thing, because I just looked at the starting lineup when we were getting beaten into the second half, and I looked across and went, out of the 11 players on that pitch, Callum McGregor and Kieran Tierney are the only ones I would be happy seeing next season. The rest, SCHMEICHEL, Arojo will go, the 2 centre-halves can bolt, the midfield of Nygren and Hatate, or Bernardo as well, Maeda will go, Chvanchara's a backup striker, Yang or Tenekte, it's all just backup players or players that are leaving, that we're so far off it.
I mean, that brings me down to talking about the game at IBROX that we've got at the weekend.
Sorry, do you see, just before we move on, just a final thing on Europe, because obviously we've still got another game to play, and Billy's very audibly drinking from a bottle off camera. But obviously we've got another game to go, and no one cares about it. It would probably be send whatever we can cobble together. But the trouble with the away leg is, we've not registered the players that you would normally want to feed to Stuttgart. There's no Mvuka, there's no Arthur, there's no who's the other one? There's other, like,
might as well play Trusty, because he's missing the Rangers game.
Oxlade, like, Arthur can't even play to get up to speed ahead of IBROX. But this on the subject of Europe, I thought I don't want to labour it because I think you and I, Jamie, we reacted after the game. And we gave
a big old reaction as well.
Yeah, nearly an hour. But we spoke about Martin O'Neill's comments as well, and I gave him a lot of leeway because it's no easy to watch your team get beaten in that manner and go out and make coherent sense. But some of it strayed a little bit into, no, I don't want to be hearing that about Celtic. To be honest, for me, I don't like. We've not got any money. I'm like, well, sorry, but Celtic finished 21st in that table, with teams like Genk and all that ahead of us. It can't just be money, and I know that that's factually accurate because he started talking about the Premier League yet, but why the Premier League getting brought into this? I found it baffling, to be perfectly honest. And you only need to look at clubs that are far overperforming their resources regularly, and Celtic never ever managed to do that. So I thought it was quite strange, some of Martin O'Neill's comments.
A lot of what he said post-match, I think a lot of what he said post-match didn't chime with anything I felt. The comments about the money and how we're supposed to compete, I don't know. I was less than convinced. The stuff on the fan protest as well, I think he would probably do well just to kind of stay out of that as much as he can. I know people have got their own thoughts about fan protests, and I've got some of my own, and we're going to talk about it a bit later on. But I just think in the immediacy of post-match, I just think that could be quite inflammatory. But the comments about the English Premier League and they're signing all these players for all this money, especially in the environment that we are in Scotland, it's so easily used against you, especially when we've been underperforming all season and a team like Hearts are sitting top of the league. So loads of what you were talking about there, Melly, about the way we performed in Stuttgart and the way we performed in Hibs against Hibs. It does really draw your attention to this Rangers game at the weekend. We're going to be without Trusty, so there's a reason to play him, as I said, against Stuttgart. Celtic have appealed the red card, I think, rightly so. I'm really torn on this one because on the face of it, I think it probably was a red card. He violently pushed a guy's arms off him. But the counter to that is I see that happen. I feel like I see that happen quite a lot in the scrum of the box. It just so happened that Trusty was kind of out in the open doing it, and things like that take place. There's a lot of pulling and pushing at corners and all that. My main issue with it though is that the referees seem to leave it and the game would get re-refereed by VAR, which I think is, I don't know if that's the process, Melly.
No, look, I think it was daft. It was a sending off because he's done an action that can be deemed as that. But see, if we're going to do this, I look forward to it because then Celtic should have all sorts of red cards against teams and we should have all sorts of penalties. But as we've seen a couple of seconds later, we didn't get the penalty for the shirt pull. And I'm like, right, so what? How much are we doing the rules here? Because the referee said to Martin O'Neill it wasn't long enough a shirt pull for it to be deemed a shirt pull. But Trusty does something like that, which is deemed to be violent conduct.
Yeah.
And even at the game, we were told the incident happened outside the box. So either apply all the rules right across or don't. And again, with the time wasting and all that, stop going up to goalkeepers and telling them that's it. Do something about it. So are the rules being applied or are they not being applied? Trusty, daft, really stupid, cost us, and I don't want him to play at IBROX. He doesn't deserve to play at IBROX.
Yeah.
Put in Arthur and I'll see what he can do because I know what I'm getting from Trusty. Brendan Rodgers described it when we could lip read him. That's what you're going to get from him. He's not done enough. He's had plenty of chances. He's been sent off twice in big games when we couldn't afford to, and it's cost Celtic 4 points. We can't afford it. Well, no, 5 points. Sorry.
Yeah. So on the subject of that penalty, well, Trusty first. I think it is a red card, to be honest, because I do totally take the point that there's loads of pushing and shoving, and sometimes you end up like a wee group of players end up on the deck. There's that much shirt pulling and all that, and it seems to just be allowed to pass because the ball's not in play yet. So I
think it was because Trusty was out of the scrum. It looked worse. I think,
but it also looked worse because it was really aggressive. And I'm no.
He knocked the boy to the ground. Was that hard?
Yeah, but I think that went beyond for me the usual like try to flick your hand away or shoving or pushing or anything like that. He did like a mad like hammer fist punch down onto his arm, and he did it with quite a lot of force, and I think that probably meets the threshold of violent conduct / excessive force and all that stuff, so I don't have a problem with it. But the penalty itself, right, And by the way, I do take the point as well that probably shouldn't be re-refereed. That's yet again a problem I have with the implementation of VAR. It's similar to his other sending off. A decision has been made, and VAR has, for some reason, deemed no, that's not a good enough decision. It's not like that something clear and obvious has been missed. No new evidence has been presented. It's just, I think you should upgrade that, and it is. So the penalty, I've not got a problem with that, the wording of that ruling, even though it's daft, right? See that he's not holding him for long enough. I've not got a problem with that as long as you put a number on it. If we're in the age of VAR where everything is measured to the nth degree, and we're talking about heels being offside and shoulders being offside, all that kind of stuff, right? Or somebody's ear has straight offside. If there's going to be a rule where it's only a penalty if you hold them for a certain amount of time, we have to have a certain amount of time. See if it's 1.8 seconds and anything longer than that is a penalty and anything shorter than that isn't a penalty. You need to give us that. You can't just have it being completely subjective. I don't think he held him for long enough. Well, versus what are you comparing it to? Has there been another example where he held on to him for longer and it was given as a penalty? That to me is very, very woolly and quite frustrating, because that's not the implementation of VAR as we understand it, which is supposed to clear up subjectivity. That by its very nature is literally subjectivity.
And that didn't go to VAR, did it? The referee didn't go for an on-field check there of that one.
No.
So I'm baffled by that. I really am baffled by the two uses of VAR there. So
VAR has just decided that wasn't long enough a pull. It was a pull in the box, which can be a penalty, but only if you do it for a certain length of time.
We're seeing these really bizarre. Was there no something recently where a Celtic player got pushed inside the box, but the push started outside the box or something? What was that?
I can't even remember. Oh,
it was very recently.
I can picture the incident, but not the game. Was it Chanchara get brought down?
It was something like that. The push didn't last long enough, or the push was too. It was anyway. I'm just completely baffled by the use of VAR there. But I don't know, Melly. You said something there just before we talk about the Rangers game. Do you think the trusty sender off cost us in that game?
Yeah. Well, Celtic were in the game at 1 each, 11v11, and what we've seen over the last couple of games, over the last few games, is Celtic can score late goals. As soon as we went down to 10 men, Celtic didn't have that feel of previous games where under Andrew we get the late winner against Dundee United. We simply didn't create chances after that, and we didn't even get a hold of the ball. So it completely changed what we're doing. I think the subs had played a part in that, but then what we could have done is taken off Tonekti or taken off Yang, put Maid out left and brought on Adamu, but we couldn't do that anymore, so we had to go into a 4-4-1, and then Nygren and McGregor in midfield's never going to hold it. So it did cost Celtic, because I just never thought we were ever going to get back into the game.
I think part of the issue that I've got with this Rangers game coming up is I think some of the team selections lately, particularly the subs, who comes on for who, when they come on. I didn't think Martin's subs were particularly good during the Hibs game anyway.
How many times are we going to do this with Dyson up front?
I know Iheanacho coming on against Stuttgart, but then not even in the squad for Hibs. And even though I think Iheanacho is actually as remarkable as it is to say, of the how many have we had? 8 number 9s this season. I know we discussed that on the podcast. He's, to me, one of the ones that gives me the most confidence.
He's the top scorer. He's the top scoring striker currently at the club, because I think Johnny Kenny might have 4 or something like that, and Iheanacho's got 3. But to give you an idea of the extent of that problem, Iheanacho hasn't scored since October. He scored a penalty against Motherwell in October. The last time he scored a goal from open play was September against Red Star. So that's the idea we've got with the strikers here.
And I used to think there was something with Vanchara. I really thought there's maybe a wee bit of something there, but I'm seeing it in all the things I don't want him to do. Like his hold up play and bringing players in can be okay sometimes, but when it comes to the other part of getting in the box and being really dangerous, the one thing I wanted from Celtic was players that added a bit of danger to the side, and I don't think Vanchara's really got that absolute killer instinct.
That chance was brutal, wasn't it? The one that fell to him about 5 or 6 yards out, and he just sort of what did he even do? Pass it across the 6 yard line or something like that?
He's not lethal.
He's not a threat. Lethal. No, he's not a threat. He's a presence, is what I would describe Vanchara as. He's a presence, and he offers certain elements that other strikers this season simply haven't, and those are very valuable. It's the ability to hit that striker and be able to get up the pitch. He mixes it with defenders, he holds defenders off, wins fouls, all that sort of stuff. But to me, he doesn't feel like a goal threat. I mean, he might.
But I thought he wasn't a
goals.
target man. I mean, Martin was involved in all these transfers by his own admission. So the first thing he said about CVANCARA'S is he's not a target man, and to me, he looks like a pretty effective target man. And we've been using him as one. He gives me, he sort of, was it one of you that said it, or were we talking off it? He sort of gives Venegoor of Hesselink vibes. He reminds me of Jan Venegoor a wee bit more than he reminds me of Chris Sutton. But I think it's worth talking mainly about the team selection going into IBROX, because I'd like to hear who you want in the side, and I want to hear who you want on the bench as well, because I think there's a good discussion and a lot of debate to be had around it. I mean, first of all, you persisting with KASPER SCHMEICHEL, okay.
Wow, yeah.
No howlers this weekend, but that was abysmal on was it Wednesday or Thursday? It was abysmal against Stuttgart. His passing, but I think at times put Celtic under pressure against Hibs. He's costing us in major ways, and it's all of them are pretty bad. It's not like somebody put a goal compilation together of all the stuff that sailed past KASPER SCHMEICHEL this season, and some of it was a bit unfair. But there's a lot of goals, particularly in that Stuttgart game, or even in the Stuttgart game, where you're watching them going, mate, that you look like an ex-keeper. This is charity game stuff, if not worse. So are you persisting with him at IBROX?
I wouldn't, but I think the game to take him out was Hibs, and then, but again, do we put Sinisalo in against Hibs, take him out for Stuttgart, then put him back in for IBROX, because goals are going to fly past us against Stuttgart because of the team we're going to put out. So I don't think we will swap him out and see what he served up against Stuttgart. I'm struggling to think of a worse performance from a keeper, and from what he's served up all season, he's made decent saves the odd time, but I can't remember a goalkeeper making this many high profile mistakes for Celtic. Like Barkas's best or worst of best didn't have this many howlers in it, even though he felt hollow. So KASPER SCHMEICHEL will no doubt play at Ibrox, probably because of who he is and his mentality, and Martin O'Neill will stick by him, which, all right, if you're going to do that, but Arojo, TRUSTY'S not going to be there. Even if he is, do I want him there? With Scales and Arthur, with Tierney, McGregor and Oxlade-Chamberlain midfield with Nygren ahead of that. On the right, Yang. On the left, Maeda, and up front, CVANCARA, because Tenekte made their right back look like Danny Alves, because he gave him the absolute freedom of the pitch.
Shut up, mate, he scored against Kelly. Apart from the fact that he's been terrible all season.
No desire whatsoever to chase back. Even in the Hibs game, he really lacks sort of top flight intelligence on the pitch. So Kieran Tierney is a good player. He is running with the ball, and Tenekte will just run in front of him. Instead of, when Tierney's going on the outside, Tenekte moves inside, he just stays in the same line as him. And the whole point of football and positionalism is you move out the way, so either create space or you create a passing angle. He doesn't. McGregor had a go at him for it. Tierney had a go at him for it. He just lacks the intelligence, but at the same time, he's Celtic's outlet now. He's a guy that can beat players, but I wouldn't start him at Ibrox just for his work rate. But
criminal for the goal as well.
He does this, I was about to say, he does this really weird defending thing where he will track back and then do fuck all. It's like he just wants a good look. He just wants a good look at the goal going in. He's like,
that was terrible for that header. A great cross, and they stuck it away well. But Tenekte just seemed like he didn't even know the guy was there. One of those typical occurrences where all of a sudden the defender that does nothing looks shocked that someone had the nerve to ghost in when he wasn't aware of him.
Barisic.
Oh yeah, it's a great example. Yeah, he was absolutely brutal for it. Tenekte, look, he's been coming onto a game quite recently, but the trouble is with him, he simply hasn't turned up against any decent opposition at all. Yeah. He hasn't played well against anyone, I would say, in the top 5, because he scored against Falkirk, but what I would say is that he's only got, I think, 1 goal and 0 assists against anyone in the top 6 all season, and it's against Falkirk in a 4-0 victory. The rest have been Auchinleck, Talbot, Partick Thistle, Kilmarnock, and those are his goals. So he doesn't turn up in the big games at all. and I'd be worried about him for IBROX, to be honest, because I think he could be very easily just bullied out of the game altogether, depending on who their right back is. I haven't really been. I mean, I know they've got a number of options there, but in fact, I said depending, but it doesn't really matter who it is. They'll probably physically bully Tenekte because he's susceptible to that kind of thing. Kasper Schmeichel, I think what's pretty evident now is that there is no depths to which he can sink that would get him out of the team. There's no performance level that he can sink to that will get him dropped, because if anything was going to do it, it would be that Stuttgart game. So we just need to deal with it. There's no point in even talking about it. It's clear that everyone involved thinks that they're making the calculations, I assume, of he's creaking, he looks injured, he's unfit, and he's costing goals, but he's a leader and he has this presence. And Sinisalo, despite the fact that he hasn't looked terrible, he doesn't have any of that for me. So the calculation, as far as I can see it, is being made that is going to outweigh the potential of him costing a goal in effectively every game so far. So we need to get used to it. I think Kasper Schmeichel is just going to play for the rest of the season as he tries desperately to not get injured for his final swan song at the World Cup. It looks like a guy who is desperately trying to stay fit so he can play for somebody else, treating Celtic as the warm-up for the World Cup. No. But look, it's been a circus around Kasper Schmeichel recently, because it was turning into panto stuff at the Hibs game, because people were trying to clap him. People were clapping his touch because obviously they want to support the guy. They didn't agree with him being booed, and neither did I, quite frankly. They didn't agree with him being booed, so they applauded him. But right at that very second, he passed it straight to a Hibs player, and they were clean through, and Boyle sort of pivoted on the ball and it went out for a throw-in, or Callum McGregor took it away.
No, my favourite thing was the Michael get defucked.
Yes, Michael get defucked. People started booing that, thinking it was Schmeichel. That's been going on for a while, and I have heard that, and I thought, are they singing Michael? That's quite an oddly familiar thing to sing about Nicholson, but Nicholson doesn't really fit in.
Yeah, so it's tricky.
So it was a total panto over Kasper Schmeichel, and thankfully it kind of died down a wee bit. But my hope is that he can just keep it together, man, because what we're seeing this season has been, putting it kindly, inconsistent at best from as he just sort of goes out with a bit of a whimper in what seems to be his club career. But you were trying. Stuttgart was terrible. Was it the Stuttgart game as well where he did that thing where he made the covered gesture as a free kick? No, that was Kilmarnock. Kilmarnock smashed the bar with a free kick and he ran over as if he'd had it covered the entire way. So it's not been good at all recently from him. But quite frankly, we just need to get used to it. He's going to play, especially in the big games. I'd be astonished. After all that, I'd be astonished if Sinisalo turned up at Ibrox.
I mean, I'm looking through Rangers results just now. Drew away from home against Livy, as we know.
Yeah.
Beat Hearts at home. Drew away from home against Motherwell. Yep. Beat Kelly at home. This is just in the league I'm running through. And then drew away from home at Hibs. All their problems seem to occur on the road.
Right.
A bit of a mixed bag results there, but they're doing okay at home. Can we beat them on Sunday, Melly?
Genuinely, I don't think so. I'd love to come in with a bit of hope, but just the whole Celtic team is just red flags everywhere. You've got your goalkeeper, you've got your two centre-halves that even if Trusty does play, I don't trust the two of them to be solid. Midfield is all over the place and easy to run through. Wide players don't create and are not on form, and striker, like you say, will hold up the ball but never looks like scoring. The whole point when Wilfred Nancy was in here was, we just need to plug in a striker and they'll put away these chances that Johnny Kenny's missing. Now we're not even creating the chances for strikers to miss, so I don't know. There's not a lot in this Celtic team where I can hang my hat on and go, do you know what, we can be solid in defence, which means we can get a set piece or something, because I think we'll get done in a set piece. We don't seem to have the players out wide that will be able to create something. I'm just hoping Yang and Maeda, if I picked them, would be the ones that can work hard and stop them getting forward. But my big problem is with Celtic is they'll create chances for teams, and we're not hard to play through. We're not this one of these teams that don't let you create chances. The game against Rangers at Celtic Park, I was like, Chamiti's going to get a couple of goals, maybe a hat-trick, because Celtic will just let him run riot. It's a big guy up front, and then they've got pace out wide. I don't think Rangers are brilliant.
No.
I think they've got creativity problems, but that's solving Celtic create chances for you. So
yeah, true, yeah.
I'm would love to sit here and say, do you know what, I can pull it out. All I'm reaching for here is do you know what? Once or twice we've pulled something out the bag at IBROX when I didn't expect us to. That's all I'm hoping for.
Yeah,
I can't see this team doing that.
That's what it'll be. I mean, I'm in a bit of a camp with Melly. I think we can beat Rangers.
Yeah,
this Celtic team can beat this Rangers team. I think if we played them 10 times, we might win one of those games or two of those games at Ibrox. You know that.
Right.
You know
this
that.
isn't even a good Rangers team either.
Yeah, I know that theory that you know, if you play them 10 times, maybe we might win one or two on one or two occasions. We need lots of things to go our way, and things just sort of. Again, I just keep coming back to this performance. Yes, Martin O'Neill's winning games, but we've not looked good against really poor opposition, and now we're coming into a really, really difficult run of games. I mean, we've got Stuttgart, Rangers, and then who have we got after Rangers?
Aberdeen away.
Aberdeen
away for a game in hand. Then Motherwell, is it?
Coming up
We've
as
got
well,
Rangers in the cup in between.
That's
And
right,
then Rangers.
yeah.
I mean, let's see what happens. I don't want to start any talk of we could lose 4 or 5 games on the trot here, but we need.
I know,
Yeah,
two down with 2 tough ones on the horizon. And the thing is, we're conceding a lot of goals now. I think we've been quietly going about conceding quite a lot of goals.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as intense as it did under Wilfred Nancy, because that was a mad flurry of 8 games. But since Martin O'Neill came back, and it's alleviated a little bit because there was a couple of clean sheets in there with the United game we spoke about earlier. Auchinleck Talbot, I think it was a couple, maybe a clean sheet or 2 against Falkirk. But just in the last sort of 8 or 9 games, we've conceded 16 goals, I think it is, or 14 or 16 goals. Some of them, a lot of them are in Europe, of course, but it just means that the confidence is starting to slip there in terms of the defence. I don't think Rangers are a good team either. Famous last words and all that, but that's, as I said earlier, it's no optimism that's driving my belief in Celtic at the minute. It's just that maybe other teams aren't going to run away with it in the way that we think they are. Rangers aren't a brilliant team either, as has been demonstrated with labouring to a draw at Livingston. But there might be an element of the old cliche that it's like kind of styles make fights. It seems like Rangers are quite well set up to exploit what Celtic are bad at, namely physicality and set pieces. You know, that boy Fernandes seems to be a massive threat of those kind of things. They've made things a little bit more physical in midfield, and Mikey Moore's hitting a little bit of form as well. He's not physical, he's quite a small player, but what I mean is he's quite talented as well, and Chermiti gave us an absolutely torrid time at the last one. So Scott Olsen they've added to. I don't think he's been great right enough. I don't think he's really done much for them. But what I mean is that despite the fact that they're not a particularly good team, it does feel like the kind of thing that could expose Celtic quite badly. I don't know. I really desperately hope not, but it feels that way just now, just given that Celtic are so, I don't know, they're so fragile, they're so porous at the minute. And what I described earlier on about how they had the debate as to whether Trusty getting sent off cost us a game, I think that's pretty undeniable. But did losing one game justify the amount of damage that it seemed to inflict, given that what I said earlier, it felt like we'd lost 3 players? So we just feel very porous and vulnerable at the minute, and I fear the worst. But there's, again, you're absolutely right, there's every chance that Celtic could go and turn it on, finally click into gear.
Well, this is it's a bit, for me, there is a lot of the team that looks poorly coached, and a lot of it doesn't make sense of what you're saying, right? But there's also this question that just keeps coming back to my mind about effort. You don't score consecutive last minute goals without putting in effort.
Yeah.
The problem is we're not putting the effort in until it looks like we're desperately about to lose the game. And there's a lot that the more that the players could be doing here. And I think if we're going to have any chance of winning this game at Ibrox, there needs to be some sort of mind shift. But I've not seen it. The only time I see it is when you're several minutes to go on the clock, and we all of a sudden we seem to panic that we're going to lose the game, and we bust into life for it.
It felt a wee bit like it against Hibs as well, didn't it? It felt as as you said earlier about once the news came through that Livingston were 2-0 up, it felt like that push was going to come. The crowd, so we can't. There's been a lot of talk about that recently as well. We can't go blaming the fans for absolutely everything. The fans were driving the players on in that game, and even after that, after the game, I was actually very surprised that there was no real expression of anger or anything after Hibs scored. Everybody was soaking, and I think everybody just wanted up the road at that point. But there wasn't even the token big fella pointing at the border in. Everybody was just fed up and wanted up the road. So I think the fans largely did their bit. There's plenty of songs coming from the boys area of the stadium as well. There's plenty of that. There's plenty of support. But just that. The they're so fragile that when it felt like Celtic were going to get that, we're going to be coming out here talking about how they've done it again. They've somehow done it again. And then Hibs just ran up the pitch and scored, and it just never felt we were getting back in after that.
The apathy is a dangerous thing for me.
Yeah.
The apathy is the real dangerous thing for me, and there is a title to be won here, and I do think, like, this is just my personal view now. It's not been my view all along, but it is my view now, especially after just everything that's happened with the Stuttgart game and the booing of KASPER and the apathy that I felt after that Hibs game. I do think that, and I watched a really good video by Hamish on Celtic AM this week, and it really chimed with what I thought. See, this situation, I'm not talking about the fans singing in the stand is going to be enough to make Celtic be good, but I think the overall toxicity about this club and the apathy that is in the air just now is good for nobody, good for nothing, and the club aren't going to achieve anything. And I know that the board have got issues with the Green Brigade, and the Green Brigade have got issues with the board, and a Celtic fans collective have got issues with the board, that they want big changes at board level. They want the biggest change. They want the head of the CEO, and it's something that we've been saying for a while, that he needs to go, and it's not good enough, and massive structural changes at the club. But I don't know if this is wishful thinking, but I think that there needs to be all this talk of unity from the club. We need to unite. I agree with that. I agree Celtic is at its absolute best when everyone is united, everyone's working together. There's not this feeling of apathy and anger. Nobody's turning up to the games waiting for the first mistake. The players feel like everyone's got their... But they need to do something. They can't just keep saying, unite with us. Okay, what does that look like? It looks like you stop protesting.
Stop moaning at us, please.
Yeah, stop moaning at us. There needs to be some give and take here from both sides. And we've got 10 games left. Is there any chance we could have some sort of 10-game truce? You let us back in, fan media, if that's part of what you want to do. I don't particularly care about that, for the record. You get the Green Brigade back in for 10 games. We stop, we agree to give the team the full back, go for the 10 games, but with a promise that we're going to revisit this at the end of it. Come the end of the summer, or come during this is not going away. This is not everyone says, it's all good. But I think the best chance we've got of winning this title is if everyone is on the same page. But what that doesn't look like is what Brian Wilson seems to think it looks like, and that is all the fans drop what they want. Nah, I don't
making
really
their afternoons as easy as it used to be. Basically,
it's
not lovely wee days out on a Saturday afternoon.
They need to give a wee bit. And the reason I say let fan media back in is I probably won't go to a press conference because we've already had our thoughts on it. But that's petulance from Celtic. That's stubbornness and petulance. And if they're worried about what the fans' actions and all that contribute, they need to look at themselves at what their actions do to contribute to this. And I think the current situation isn't going to resolve anything. The toxicities, Celtic are not going to get anywhere with this. And I think maybe both sides need to take a view on it for the last 10 games of the season. I'm not going to say it's the magic pill, but I think lifting that malaise, lifting that anger. However, I say all of that to say it might be too late for that. It might, because if we go and get horsed at IBROX, you can have as much of a truce as you want. You can have as many meetings as you want. You could get, I don't know what you want to do. Free kebab pie for everybody that goes to the Celtic. You can do whatever you want. But if we go get horsed at IBROX, potentially that puts us out the league title. It's all for naught, and the place is going up in flames. I can see it. I can see people. Well, not up in flames, rather. The place is just going to be drowned in apathy for the last 10 games of the season. The Celtic players will be playing in front of 20,000 people because there's bugger all to play for it. That's how I foresee it. So might be too late for it. I might have too many good intentions. I might have maybe I don't have the stomach for the fight that a lot of other people do. I'm not saying shelf it all. I'm not saying cancel it all. What I'm saying is, see for this running, is there an agreement that can be reached with a promise to revisit it? I don't know. Is that
You're
wishful thinking?
Aye.
I'm a dreamer. I have a dream.
Look,
I don't have any more of that speech to go.
In an ideal world, that would be what we'd all do, and what we'd, because even when you're in the stadium with after the bouncy ball tennis ball thing, people weren't happy with that, and I don't know if it was an official collective thing or whatever it was. It wasn't, but people went and did it anyway.
Sorry to interrupt, Melly. You're making a very key point that I've excluded from mine. that is another thing that I think is causing a lot of this. You've got fans v the board v the fans against some players, fans against the manager now, manager against the fans, and you've got fan on fan. Everyone's fighting everywhere. People are protesting, people are fighting the protesters, people are booing players, other people are booing that. It's too much. We're not going to get anywhere. And the fan on fan thing, I think, is absolutely key. And I'd forgot to mention that, but that is another major issue.
And that's why I think it's gone too far, because does everybody just now get on? It's just chaos everywhere at Celtic, on the pitch, off the pitch, in the stands. And even if we were to go on Friday and call a truce, then Celtic go out and get pummeled on Sunday, where do we go from there? Do we go back protesting? So look, this all goes back to the board. You can blame Brendan Rodgers, the fans, fan media. Everybody's had a go at taking the blame. It all goes back to the board. They've had chance after chance. Every single meeting that the collective or supporters associations come out of, basically they come out and say that was a waste of time. They don't think they're doing anything wrong, and they're just going to continue on. So look, they've had chances. Well, give us a chance to fix our mistakes. Well, there was January, and I watched Celtic get beat at the weekend, and they didn't bring on 2 players that they brought in January, a striker and a right winger. None of them get a single minute, and they were the 2 guys we brought in to turn this around. Again, it was told, Martin O'Neill, they wouldn't do that to a legend. They'll not let him down. They'll get the players in from him. And they didn't. They're incapable of changing this. They're incapable of turning this around. So calling a truce, they'll just think they've won. And I don't.
I accept that. You know, I admit that I'm a dreamer, Melly. Stephen.
No, I agree. I do think it's probably gone a bit beyond that in terms of trying to get anything agreed for this season, in terms of sort of putting the guns down, as it were, metaphorically. I think
Michael Nicholls is not going to get sacked. On the run in.
No, he's
so,
not.
Like these things that I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but Michael Nicholson, I honestly think he's probably going at the end of the season.
If they came out and went, look, Michael Nicholson's going to go at the end of the season. We've got a new manager. Here he is lined up for next season. We're having a football and restructure in what we do.
They're not going to do that.
Let's get behind this for 10 games. But they're nowhere near that. They've probably not thought of who's the manager for next season. They've probably not even thought we need a director of football. And they probably think, see if we can win the league, we'll give it to Martin next season and that's solve that.
I think they do need to be more specific. You're right, because there was a fan meeting recently and the minutes for it, I don't think, you two monitor the email inbox, or Melly, Steve, is the minutes from it came out yet? I know there was a general update, but I don't think the minutes of it have actually dropped unless they've dropped
live
where we're recording this. But the club sort of allude to, we're going to look at things in the summer.
Emails.
No, we're going to change things in the. It's okay, I can fill. I'm a professional. We're going to look at things in the summer. We're going to change things in the summer.
And I think you to do this stuff.
Right, okay, but see, part of drawing a line under it is not going, but you did this 6 weeks ago. Do you ever phone up your girlfriend and you think you're making some progress and she goes, but it wasn't like last year when you came in at 4 a.m. You're like, okay, well, we're not talking about last year. Right? So I just think that they need to be more specific about what the plan. We're going to have a full structural review. I don't know what they can say. We've heard it all before. The point is, every utterance from them, you're right, is far too vague. It's too woolly. It gives you no hope, and you've got nothing to hold on to. This is all part of it. So, Stephen,
we've got an overview. We don't have official minutes here.
The minutes have not come out. It's difficult
I may have
to
missed
comment
it,
without them.
All we've got is an overview, and quite honestly, overview is right, because giving an overview of the overview, it is very much such and such is under review. This is ongoing. We're looking into that. It's all just
nothing you can hang your hat on that things are going to get better.
It's a vacuum of information. It's more kind of, it's lip service towards getting real issues sorted. But there's nothing there. Just a final thing. Look,
wonder when the old season ticket renewals come out.
We
can long for that.
We can look forward to that. A final thing from me. There's been a lot. Look, as we record this, there's been a lot of chat about fan media online. I've done this. I've done this before. I just want to bust a few myths about this. The idea. I'd like to think that anyone watching this, anyone familiar, anyone even on nodding terms with our content and our output knows that this is the case. But I just wanted to get into press conferences does nothing for anyone involving clicks and engagement and money, and that just isn't the case. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of chat about fan media. Like everybody's getting it, but everybody's getting absolute pelters. We can lump fan media in with the players and the board and the fans and all that. You can lump them in. Everybody's getting their piece. But I say that because I'm witnessing. I'm not going to name anyone because they don't need me naming them. I don't want to direct anyone towards anything, right? But there's people getting an absolute pile on because of stuff, and there's all sorts of allegations about clicks and engagement and taking the fans for mugs and all that. It's just, it's not true. And the reason I bring that up is because you said get fan media back in. It doesn't do anything for anyone getting into these press conferences. I want to be absolutely clear about that. The only reason it would even be a consideration is that some people tend to find value in the types of questions that fan media are likely to ask managers. It's not about injuries. It's not about, how did you manage to get that win? They're a wee bit more considered. On occasion, that's the case. So whenever we mention getting fan media back in, it is absolutely not because we're desperate to get back into press conferences, because it props us up and gives us, it provides us with the lifeblood of clicks and all that. There's nothing to click for a start, but you know what I mean. So I wanted to once again just bust a couple of myths around that, because
and that's worth doing.
It rears its ugly head every so often,
and that's worth doing. But I just want to be clear. The reason I brought that particular thing up was because it was pure petulance by Celtic, and they need to show some sort of attitude change at their end. Now, I know there's more complicated issues going around with the Green Brigade in terms of, I think there's investigations or blah blah blah. I don't, to be honest,
ongoing. I can confirm that for you again. Let me see. Yes, investigations are ongoing. Yes, under review, etc., etc.,
etc., etc. So I don't know if I'm monitoring the situation. But the only reason I mentioned the fan media thing is because it's cringe. And it's very petulant. Yeah.
It's cringe and it's petulant as hell. Yes,
yes, it's cringe and it's petulant as hell. And
the bullies, bullies.
So that's all. Listen, I've put that idea out there for a 10-game truce. Look, was there no something like during the World War they all had a game of football? Did that happen?
Probably a complete myth, but I'd like to think we could have our own very real example.
So we can put the war aside and have 10 games of football if we want, and just see what happens. But as I say, it might be too far gone for that, and all bets are off if we get host against Rangers. So
what was the bigger war? Hard to say. There's no need to come up with an answer to that.
So if Martin could just recharge the batteries in his win button, and maybe just dig it out one last time. See, when the split happens, Melly, have we got Rangers at home or away again?
Home.
Yeah.
Hearts and Rangers at home.
Come on, you need to get the 10-day truce. You need to get the Green Brigade back for that. You need to get the fans on side for that. But
you need to get us back in for our clicks.
You need to let us get us back in so we can fight for that bloody question that gets batted away. Right. Anything else for the agenda before we wrap this up?
No, I believe that's it. Are we going to revisit our Guy Watch? That sounds.
Yes.
That doesn't sound right. No, that needs a better name. But anyway,
I'll think on something for. I'll think on something for next week.
Invoca, status unchanged.
No change on Invoca.
No.
AOC. Every time someone says AOC on the group chat on social media, my mind immediately goes to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, not Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. So AOC. I think I picked well there. Are we underdog a bit under the table, that one? I know out of left field. Melly, who's your guy? How's he getting on?
Thanks to Austin Trusty, my boy didn't get a single minute. Don't know what happened on Thursday, but Ian Atchell got a game ahead of him. Another dud by the looks of it. Another dud. We will be doing lots of content around your Rangers game this weekend. Patreon.com/20minute-Tims is where you can catch that. You can check it out for free. There's free trials on right now, so sign up, get involved, and if you like it, hang about, and if you don't, just don't tell anyone you didn't like it. But as far as the flagship goes, we'll catch you next week. Yeah, as far as the flagship goes, we'll catch you next week.